Happy New Year. I'm not going to turn up more than that because who knows if this is going to be a good year, right? I mean, I could certainly try to make it a good year, but that's all you get. Happy New Year, pew, pew, pew. That's it. Today, in the revelations of a ranting sheep, this sheep is about to rant about folks and this pandemic that we have going on. And I'm not really going to talk about the pandemic. Like, it is what it is. So today, I was on the bus. A man was coughing. Now, he did have a mask available to him, but he had it off. And he was coughing hard, like hard and long into his hands. And yes, I witnessed it. And yes, in my spirit, I felt something, but I ignored it because, for one, I personally do think it's nasty to sneeze into a mask and just leave it on like that. It's not. It's not happening. Okay, he was doing his coughing or whatever. I had my mask on, which sometimes I don't, but I had my mask on, so I wasn't really too pressed. I was just like, man, I wish I had a cough drop on me, but I didn't. So it is what it is. And then low key too, I ain't gonna hold you. It seemed as though he might have been doing it on purpose, but that's not for me to say. That was just the vibe that I was getting. So anyhow, so he's coughing into his hand extra hard, extra long, and I did look in his direction, but then I just let it go. Now I'm looking out the window because I'm waiting for my stop. As I'm looking out the window, there was a Caribbean woman sitting behind him, and I guess she was just appalled, okay? Because I noticed that she has her mask on her face, but she's also holding it down like, child, I'm not about to catch whatever he got, okay? And so I was like, I started giggling to myself. I then noticed from my peripheral that she is now looking around because that's the thing to do in the Afro-American Caribbean community. You look around to see who is going to like justify, make your spirit feel like I'm not crazy, right? Like, this is crazy. What this man is doing is crazy. And I just wasn't gonna give her that energy. I wasn't gonna give her that energy and interlock eyes with her to tell her, I see you, sis. I see you. I feel what you feeling. Like, this man is wilding. I didn't do it. I just kept looking out the window because what I felt in that moment when she started looking around to make eye contact for approval or disapproval, in this case about what the man was doing, all I could think about was, if you were doing what you were supposed to be doing to take care of your body, health wise or otherwise, you wouldn't be so pressed. Okay? You wouldn't be out here, Silence of the Lamb. I don't, I'm not even good with movies, so I shouldn't even be doing this to myself. But whatever movie it is where the man is wearing the mask and it has like the bar things in the mouth, you wouldn't be so pressed. You wouldn't be so pressed if you knew you was out here taking care of your body, putting in the right things, okay, exercising, doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, eating your fruits and vegetables, your herbs, doing all the things, right? You wouldn't be out here looking, feeling so like disgusted by him. You would just be like, you know what, this man is nasty, but okay, whatever. I know I'm good, right? Because I'm taking care of myself. So I know I'm good. But no, okay, I'm not gonna go there. I was about to be a little disrespectful. But you decided, not only is she concerned in this moment, But you sitting down in your seat behind this man who, after finished coughing, did not put on his mask right away. He put it on a good amount of bus stops after. And she's just here, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. If you really felt so concerned, you would not be sitting there. You would not be sitting there. And I'm just so annoyed. I'm so annoyed about this whole situation that I just had to talk about it at the top of the year. Get it out my system, okay? Because I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. Do you hear me? Do you see me? I am sick of it. Okay. So these are the things for me. And if you care to comment, go ahead and comment. I already know the controversy because the controversy is within my community already. There's people who feel what I feel, understand what I'm saying, and there's people who feel like I'm being a little bit insensitive because of the millions who have passed from COVID, which I'm gonna get into that. So let me start off by saying that in all of this, do understand that I respect anybody's opinion. I may not like it, but I respect it enough to say, okay, if this is what you want to do, if you want to get job up, if you don't want to get job up, I don't care. Like, it's your decision, you know. I've, I'm good with it. What I cannot deal with is people, and I've had a couple of honest conversations that I'm thankful for, because it's not easy having these conversations with people when they feel so wrong and strong, because that's what it is. You will always be wrong if you're coming with the energy of I'm right. You will always be wrong. I could care less what receipts you have. You will always be wrong in my eyes. Always. But I've been able to have conversations with people who have given me the freedom to express how I feel about it. And I have given them the same space to express how they feel about this whole situation. So I'm going to speak about the recent person because I think that I may have not changed her mind about how the government is going about things, but more so opened her mind to a different perspective um, that she will now carry with her moving forward as somebody who decided to get job up. So we were having a conversation. We were at work. I just met her. And she asked me if I got job. I'm not gonna say nothing else because I see people are censoring themselves. And so because I'm new to this, I'm not trying to wake up one day and see that my video ain't up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say job up. If you know, you know. If you don't know, then too bad. So she asked me if I had gotten it, and I said no. And she said, I think she may had asked me afterwards if I was planning on it, and I think that was the next question, and I told her no. And she she was respectful, and she said, if you don't mind me asking why, and I told her, per everything that's being said in the media, right? From what I understand, you could correct me if I'm wrong. People who are getting jabbed, from what I understand, are their symptoms are going to be suppressed. So you won't per se know that they have anything going on in their system versus somebody who isn't. So who really has to protect who from who? Do you have to protect yourself from me, or do I have to protect myself from you? Because if I don't get jabbed, right, then if I do contract this um, virus, then you would know through my symptoms that, hey, this person is somebody I need to stay away from, right? Because I will be coughing, I will be what are even the what sneezing, I will have a temperature, all the things, right? If you if this is supposed to suppress it in your system, but you can still people can still catch it from you, then I think that's stupid. So we all walking around here jabbed up, giving the virus to each other, and we don't even know. That don't make sense to me. To me, it does not make sense. So for me, it's more so I'm not pressed. I'm not saying that I didn't catch it. What I am saying is that since this whole thing started, I have not gotten COVID symptoms. I have not. I know some people say that even those who have not gotten the jab, um, you could still carry it and not have symptoms. So I don't know. That could have possibly been me. Um, but I've been here doing me all along. I wear a mask. I don't wear a mask. The times that I decide not to wear a mask, I think um, are responsible on my part. I'm out in the street walking. I'm not going to wear a mask on the street. I'm just not. I'm going to breathe this good air. Okay. On the bus and the train, it really depends on how long I've been wearing a mask for the day at work. If I've been wearing a mask all day, when I'm heading home, I'm not going to wear a mask because I've done enough research um, outside of the travesty of 2020 and on. I've I know a thing or two about my body because that's the proper thing to do. The proper thing to do is to educate yourself about health because you are a human being and there are things that are going around that you need to protect yourself from. You cannot put your faith in a practicing doctor. Okay? I could practice on myself. I don't need somebody to practice on me. Okay? So I am very big on um, knowing what to eat, knowing what not to eat. I know that that's also very specific to body type. It's very specific um, to where you were born and the things that you had available to you. I grew up eating food, as they call it, which is the yuca and the plantain and the cassava and things like that. And rice was in there too. So, there's some people who feel like, oh, if I eat too much yuca, too much plantain, too much this or that, um, it affects them. It doesn't affect me because I grew up eating that. It all depends on what you grew up eating. People talk about baby boomers, and I'm not really sure what the generation before that was called. Something to look into. Um, but people before that, they say, these people drinking soda, they smoke, they do this, they do that, and they here fine living their life. And it's like you cannot compare yourself to somebody who was born in 1928 because it's completely different. They have a junky body. Their bodies is used to that. If that person was ever to do a cleanse and reboot their body, I guarantee you that going back to that diet would affect them, which another thing to consider and something that I've noticed because I've done a reboot several times over and I've recognized how if you're not ready to reboot your body, don't do it. Just continue your diet, cut down on things um, as much as you feel comfortable doing. But doing a hard reboot on your body and then going back and eating those foods that um, your taste buds are so used to, ooh, your body is not. Take it from me. Take it from me. By the glory of the good Lord, this lighting is hiding some things that I have going on with my skin. But I'm telling you, your body gonna freak out when you start eating maybe all that cheese again, maybe all that gluten again, maybe you're a drinker and you start drinking a lot of liquor again. Like your body is gonna freak out because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. But I just wanted to put that in there so that y'all know. So, anyways, now I told her what I said. I have to protect myself out here because you, as someone who is jabbed up, um, you won't carry any symptoms, from what I understand. And she never corrected me, so I assumed that what I was telling her was right because her reaction was actually like, oh, it's almost like you could see the light come on in her head. Um, and and she was like, oh, okay. And she just kept on doing what she was doing. And so I'm not here. I never told her that, she should have never gotten it, this, that, and the third, because I would never say that to someone. Like everybody has their own perspectives. And people know, like you should know why you're doing it. Unfortunately, I will say that if you're doing it for somebody else because somebody is constantly down your throat about it, I mean, if that's what you want to do, you know what I'm saying? Your security should be in the fact that I've heard both sides, the pros and the cons, and due to everything that I know, due to everything that I've researched, due to everything that I've heard, and due to my perspective and how well I know my body, or sometimes it has nothing to do with how well you know your body. Sometimes it has to do with your projection. So maybe you're projecting that, in 5 years, the government might want to um, make this thing mandatory, or else you cannot um, live freely in this land. Maybe that's your projection. And so you decide to take it, because it's about survival, right? That's okay. And I think that's great and beautiful. It's about standing in what you believe in. But to make a decision for yourself and then want to be on top of somebody's throat who decided the opposite of you, how is that freedom? How is that freedom? You got the freedom to make your decision, right? So why aren't you giving me the same respect? So, yeah, she was on her own. Like, sis on the bus, she was on her own. And those are all the things that I quickly think of, right? I just was not going to give her the satisfaction of making eye contact with her so that she could feel better about pressing her hand on her face like cannibal. Is it cannibal? I don't even know. I don't know the movies, but y'all know the movies. Okay. Y'all know. Or maybe y'all don't know. I don't know. But I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I will also like to share another story, and just to keep it short, because I already, I told y'all that I'm long-winded, so I'm gonna keep it together. So the short of it was that the conversation came up. Um, she asked me about it. I told her I have no plans in the near future to get job up, and she proceeded to tell me about her wanting to live far beyond her years, right? And wanted to see, I guess, does she have grandkids? I can't remember if she have grandkids grandkids or not, but she just, she wants to see grandkids. She wants to live a long life. She wants to, which is beautiful and fine. Um, and so she's just going on and on and on about why she got it after I told her why I wouldn't be getting it or feel comfortable. And she said, if I was your age, um, I would probably feel the same way. The only reason you saying that is because you're young. If you was my age, you wouldn't be saying that. Now, if there was a neutral tone in her voice, and in her opinion, if I would have sensed a neutrality in her spirit, I wouldn't have gotten offended. But I got offended because what I was sensing is you're telling me because you're older, which, this generation, she's a baby boomer, right? She's in her 60s, she's a baby boomer. The baby, and I shouldn't even just say baby boomers, right? Because that's like a human thing where we just feel like we know what we know. We lived more than you, you know? And unfortunately, I can't subscribe to that. I cannot subscribe to that because I am also a human being. And perhaps maybe I've had times in the past where I'm just like, I know what I know. And I think that's still an okay feeling to know what you know, because that's your truth. And that's why you do know what you know, because you've gone through it for you, and that's okay. But it's not okay to tell someone that if you don't see patterns of similar results. I took offense to it because I felt like she was coming from a place of like, you can't tell me. Like, I know for a fact that if you were my age, you would have made a different decision. And I'm just like, I'm not a walking zombie. Like, I'm telling you that I wouldn't, and I call her on it because I just, I'm pro putting baby boomers in their place in a respectful way, right? I'm not promoting disrespect because that's not how I was raised, but in a respectful way, you can say, I hear what you're saying and I understand that you have strong opinions on it. However, what I'm telling you is that because of the journey that I've gone through in my life, I know for a fact that if I was your age, that I wouldn't make that decision. I'm not making that decision from a place of youth. I'm making that decision from a place of experience. And I think that's the difference. I think if you felt like it, you could tell that to somebody who's just speaking out of just the freeness, the freeness of their age and whatnot. And I think you could tell the difference. I think you could tell when somebody is just talking from the perspective of youth versus somebody who's speaking from the perspective of experience, because typically the person with the experience, the person with that has been putting things to the test, they would tell you like, oh, this is what I've been doing. These are the things that I've been doing so and so from so and so time till now, and so that's why I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of people think because of what's going on that okay, you know what? Let me speak for myself. Let me not speak for others. For me, my perspective on the jab has nothing to do with um, wanting to be a rebel towards the government. I've had that perspective before all of this happened in 2020. Um, I'm not pro jabs. I'm not. I was raised by a baby boomer. And yes, she did what she thought was good and acceptable, which was naturally the child is born. there's vaccinations that the child has to get, and so you carry them to get their vaccinations. My brothers and I, we got jabbed up, right? However, when I started to become more health conscious, and started doing research on these things, I realized that certain skin conditions and maybe even some of my difficulties in school may have been because of uh, getting these vaccinations as a baby. Now, no, I've never been diagnosed with any of the things that our kids are getting diagnosed with these days. And the proof is in the fact that I wasn't in any special classrooms, right? Because we have the special ed classrooms versus um, uh, I don't know if they will call it a normal classroom. I think that probably wouldn't be the appropriate um, term, but you have special ed, then you have your standard classrooms, and then you have your advanced classrooms. I was always in a standard classroom, right? Uh, so I don't necessarily I wasn't diagnosed with anything, but I've always had a difficulty with math. Now, with all of that being said, some people might say that that's just a natural thing. You have people who naturally take on to math, and some who don't. And I think that may be true to a certain extent. Um, and also, I mean, let's be real. How many of us grew up with baby boomers who, during homework time, because we weren't getting the right answers, they started barking at us like we were runaway slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like that definitely plays a factor in how a child learns as well. There is definitely a broad spectrum when it comes to, for me, when it comes to self-diagnosing myself, what I think these jabs have done to me. I have my opinions, and I feel certain about some of these things that were introduced into my body, and how they have um, affected me. I just do, and it's going to stay that way because I've read of um, enough. I would say a lot of my opinions, besides reading and seeing people talk about how this could, how jabs could affect a child. I've had conversations with parents who have not given their children jabs from childhood versus parents who have, and not so much, not in a blatant way. It's been done in a very kind of nonchalant way. So they don't really know that I'm kind of like taking this information in and thinking about it for myself because, you know, if I have kids in the future, I want to have all the information that I possibly need to make the decision for them. I got a good amount of information from speaking to parents who have and have not. And I have to tell you, those who have not, their story is very consistent as far as learning abilities, as far as you know, a child's milestones and whatnot. It's very consistent. Unlike parents who have, you know, you never know. You know, some of them have successful stories, and then you have some who don't have successful stories, who have the very traumatic stories of, you know, their child was fine, and then all of a sudden they got this thing, and now they have a child with a learning disability. And that's just the facts are the facts. I will say this. I will say that I think I've mentioned this, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. And so I'm a strong believer that if the things that you're being exposed to are constant in your life, then perhaps that's the path that you're supposed to go in. You're supposed to be, um, indulging in this part of life, and that's okay. Um, but likewise, I feel like people who have had the opposite exposure, there's a reason for that. Like, let's not forget that in this community, we all believe in the Lord. And so I would never for a second believe that the Lord is going to be exposing one set of people to something and then another set of people for not. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason behind what he's doing, and he wants you to go in a certain path for a certain reason. You know what I'm saying? For me, I was exposed to both, right? So I was exposed to, this is how things go. The child is born and they get jab up. Like, that's what it is. And then at a certain point in my life, I was exposed to the other side of that. And I have read and heard and seen firsthand experiences of parents who have not. And I'm attracted to that. That's not going to always be true. There's things that I grew up in that I've been exposed to the opposite of that. And I'm like, that's not for me. It doesn't speak to me. And I think that's how it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be, regardless of how you're going in life, whatever you're exposed to, you're supposed to be going with, how does that make my spirit feel? How does that make me feel? Does that sound like a good thing, or does that sound like a thing that I'm not into? I mean, even with something as simple, okay, something as simple as vegetables. I recognize that there's certain vegetables that I just don't like cooked, and there's other vegetables that I enjoy cooked. There's other vegetables that I don't mind if they're cooked or raw, in the raw form. Something like spinach, don't give it to me cooked, 'cause I'm not gonna eat it. I'm not. I enjoy it raw. Um, or quickly sauteed in something. And I'm talking quickly, I'm talking in and out, in and out. Like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Um, Something like kale, I enjoy kale cooked, but I also enjoy it raw. Something like carrots, I don't like carrots cooked. I hate it cooked. I enjoy it raw. Now, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not. Brussels sprouts. I used to hate, like, I never tasted Brussels sprouts as a young girl. I just remember looking at them and being like, that ain't it for me. And now, honey, give me the Brussels sprouts. I'm here for Brussels sprouts. I love me a Brussels sprout. Okay. Love it. I love it. So I just I just, at the end, what all of this boils down to with this woman, and with just the whole thing that we're going through with this pandemic, I just want us to respect each other. That's all I want. I think a lot of us are people pleasers. I think a lot of us people please too much. Okay? That's a problem. I think a good amount of us people please, because the people pleasing comes from the fact that we were raised in this, from this standpoint of, oh, auntie so-and-so want a kiss, go give them a kiss. Oh, you don't see, um, Uncle so and so saying hi to you, go say hi. Or your mother, your father's on the phone with, it's usually the mother. I mean, I don't know. I ain't grown up with no father. So you know what I'm saying? Let's just say parents. The parents are on the phone with somebody, uncle, aunt, friend, whomever, and oh, they just so happen to bring up your name in that moment. Oh, she's doing okay. Here she is. Hold on, let me put her on the phone so she can say hi. And it's like, chill. Like, ain't nobody trying to talk to. Who you talking to? You know what I mean? And it becomes annoying, right? But because we come from this place of constantly give this person a kiss, give that person a hug, you know, you go sit on that person's lap, or what, go talk to this person I'm talking on the phone, just say hi for one quick second, because we've never been able to say no, and we're constantly told to do these things, and our no's were never okay. We have a oh man, at least 3 generations and more of people who, when they see somebody coughing, they feel like, oh, this is nasty. Let me protect myself by making sure that nothing comes in through my mask, instead of just getting up and moving yourself away from a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's people pleasing, because to a certain extent, and I will put a good amount of money on this. To a certain extent, this Caribbean woman probably thought to herself, even though I said earlier that she still wanted to be in the comfort of sitting in her seat, the bus wasn't that empty. And in fact, um, did she get off at the bus at the train stop? I can't really remember, but the bus wasn't that full. She could have certainly moved to a different seat, but she didn't. And even though I said that could have been a reason, which it could have been, I think somewhere in her spirit, it was more so, I don't want this person to feel bad, or I don't want people to look at me like, wow, it's not that deep. Why are you moving? And to live your life from a place of, I want everybody to feel comfortable. It's like, that's sweet, that's cute, that's commendable, that's honorable. I mean, that's all the things, right? But this is, maybe I'll talk about this in my next podcast. Um, Maybe I could bring on a couple people to talk about this, because it's a big topic and I don't want it to be just from my perspective. But living from a place of wanting everybody to feel comfortable is just not realistic. It's not realistic. I think there's certainly a time and a place. There's certainly certain scenarios that call for that. Um, but a lot of sexual harassment that happens is due to one party feeling uncomfortable and paralyzed, um, in the fact that they can't say stop, or they don't want to make a big deal of it, or but that comes from being taught to give uncle so and so or auntie so and so a kiss, even though you said no, even though you're hiding behind your parents' legs, they still force you to say hello to this person, right? So that has stayed with us in our subconscious, just enough that it has become something that harms us. Me being one of them, right? Constantly, oh, why you don't want to say hi to so and so? You know, oh, they was just saying hi to you. Oh, they just wanted a hug. Oh, the squeezing of the cheeks, not having those boundaries for a child who is just learning. You're just throwing them out there to people and basically forcing them to do these things. And we don't learn through the words, we learn through the actions. So our parents didn't necessarily say that it's okay for you to take on abuse. They didn't tell us that, right? Because they would never tell us that. Like, what parent would say that? Um, However, they definitely, that's what they were telling us in action, right? With with nullifying the fact that we said no and teaching us that that's disrespectful for you to not want to greet an adult. By doing that, you have taught us unconsciously that you not being okay with somebody crossing into your personal space, that's not okay. You have to allow people into your space. That's what they taught us. That's what they taught us. It happens even when you're old enough to say no. Um, in the church that I used to attend, this woman who loved to give people hugs. She would just go around and give people hugs. The time that this was happening, I was in a place of being okay with that. Not from her, but just being okay, because I was someone who would constantly, when somebody would come in for a hug, I'd be like, I don't do that. Like, keep your distance. And now that I've been exposed to so many different podcasts and to so many different books and people and psychologists and whatnot, I'm able to recognize why I was that way. And so, for whatever reason, though, and I still don't think that this is someone who um, who would hurt me. However, I remember her coming in the first time to do that, and her energy just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And I was just like, I don't give hugs. And the second time around, um, I remember her coming in with the same energy. And she was like, oh, you gonna give me a hug. You gonna give me a hug. And she actually like forced a hug out of me. And, in that moment, again, right? Instead of putting her in her place, because I'm a full grown adult in these streets. Okay. I was like 26, 27 at the time. And she just blatantly was on some, I don't care, you gonna hug me, you gonna hug me. And it's just like, people don't think about that though, right? Because I think that she is bright enough to understand the complexities of this action, like the pros, the cons, all the things. However, she did what she did. It didn't make me feel good. And my face, my face ain't gonna lie, okay? Maybe this tongue will lie, but this face ain't gonna lie. And so my face was very much like, I got up and I went downstairs. And so it never happened again, at least from what I could remember. It never happened again. She never crossed my space again. But it's so sad that I have to now screw face you, right? And make you feel bad when you didn't have to feel bad. You just had to respect my space and allow me to welcome you into that space when I was good and ready. Because again, I didn't necessarily see her as a threat. It was just a respect thing. It was a respect thing, you know. Hey, good morning. How are you? If you really pressed for a hug, sis, you could just, is it okay if I give you a hug this morning? And if the person says no, be okay with that. Be okay with that. But, that also probably had a lot to do with the fact that she came from a Hispanic background. And being from a Hispanic background myself, um, I understand that our thing is the embrace. You kiss on the cheek or whatever have you. Um, I get it, but we gotta learn to respect one another in every sense of the way. No matter what it is that's going on, I just want us to respect each other. Just please. I'm literally begging y'all. I'm literally begging y'all. Learn to respect one another. Stop imposing, excuse me, yourself on somebody else. From 0 to 99, stop imposing yourself. Just because they're a child doesn't mean that it's okay. Just because they're elderly doesn't mean it's okay. Just because they're an adult doesn't mean it's okay to impose yourself on someone. Stop doing that. Stop doing that, and stop allowing people to do it to you. Because the only reason, I have to think that the only reason that you are imposing yourself on somebody is because plenty of people have imposed themselves on you and have forced themselves on you. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not right. It's just not right. I just want us to respect each other. Just respect each other, respect people's opinions. Respecting somebody's opinion doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. It just means that when you have recognized that you guys have a difference of opinion, you pump a brake and you say, okay, that's not how I feel, but I don't feel that way because, we really have to use our words. We really do. And you have to verbally say, I don't agree with what you say, but I also am mature enough, wise enough, learned enough, you know, to understand that you are an individual, your perspective is different from mine. Even if you guys are siblings, your perspective is not going to always be the same, right? Even if you're twins, your perspective is not going to be the same, right? We make different friends, we have different passions, um different perspectives. So no matter what, you're going to always have your own perspective on things. It's just that simple. And by acknowledging that somebody has a different perspective from you, they grew up differently, they understand differently, um, that should be just enough for you to say, maybe we're not um, understanding, or maybe we're not agreeing in this moment because of our different perspectives. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Um, and it's for whatever reason, because you do have certain situations where you may not agree with something because it boils down to a morals issue, and that's okay. That's perfect. I've been able to do a lot of work on myself by just humbling my heart and saying, I'm not right. This part of me is not right. And some of it came organically by me just recognizing it in myself. And then there's other things that just came to me by people saying it over and over again. Something that was said to me my entire um, uh, life up to maybe mid 20s was that I didn't know how to speak to people. Oh, you don't know how to speak to people. You just say whatever's in your mind, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I'm not being mean. I'm not saying anything that's not true. I'm telling you what's happening. Like, why is that not okay? Like I just never understood it because people want you to soften everything. Everything has to be presented in a bed of flowers, in a bed of diamonds. Like like people, that whole you can't handle the truth. Like people cannot handle the truth, and it's okay. It's okay. I finally got it. I got it. People cannot handle the truth. And so I really, really worked on, I've heard it so much from people that I really worked on that side of me. Now I still feel that um I you know, I still feel like people still feel that way about me. But then you have other people who are so rash themselves that when they hear me speak, they're like, wow, like you really like know how to articulate yourself and really say the thing in a nice way. And I'm just like, well, thank you, because I worked hard on it. But also, there's still people out here that say otherwise. So I still have work to do. And then you have some people who are like, no, you don't have work to do. Like, sometimes there's certain things that you have to tell people that it doesn't matter how sweet you made the Kool-Aid. Okay, it could give you a heart attack from the first sip. Like you could be out, and people will still feel like, oh my gosh, you couldn't say that to me nicer. Like no. And so I think that I'm in a place where I'm good at slowing down, finding the words, saying the words. And then there's other times where I know that there is no sweetener that's about to be added to this. You about to get this straight up. Okay? Straight up, no chaser. You about to just get these words. And I would say it. I would say it. I would say, listen, there is no good way to say this. And then I would just throw up. Because sometimes some things just have to be said. Period. Sometimes certain things just have to be said. And the fact that we are in this type of I haven't heard it since maybe the past. I haven't heard it too much lately, this whole cancel thing, because we was in a heavy cancel culture. At the time I wasn't even on social media because I cannot stand social media. um However, this whole cancel culture thing, it's like a lot of times the people that others want to cancel are people who are just telling the truth. But because we so egotistical and we're so afraid to look at ourselves in the mirror, we become offended. We become so offended and we just want to be done with you. We just want to erase you. And it's like, grow up, grow up. Proverbs talks about the fool who doesn't want to get advice or want to be reprimanded by somebody else. And it praises the person who can take the words of another person, even if the person is saying it from a bad place. Sometimes people say things to you and it comes from a bad place, but it doesn't mean that their words are not true. Sometimes their words are true. It's just that at that moment they weren't saying it to help you. They were saying it to hurt you. That's okay too. That's okay too. And we need to grow up. Put on put on your big girl panties. Put on your big boy shorts. Okay? And grow up. Grow up and recognize that you are not a perfect being. There's things that you need to change about yourself. And there will always be things that you need to change about yourself. Okay? And yes, it's gonna hurt. And if you feel like taking a break from that person who decided to be mean to you, that's okay. Take a break from them, but do not nullify their words. Always listen to what somebody has to tell you. Even the person who you feel is a hypocrite, even if, it doesn't matter. You know how many, I remember my elementary school, I know I said I was going to wrap it up, but I also told you I talk a lot. So just bear with me. There was this teacher, she was my fourth grade teacher, Miss Levy, I believe her name was. And I remember Miss Levy used to smoke, and one of the kids said to her, Miss Levy, you smoke? We had called her like during lunch, and I could tell that she felt bad. And she was like, yes, I smoke, but don't be like me and smoke. Smoking is not good for you or whatever. And at the time, it's really hard for a child to understand the whole concept of do as I say, not as I do. But as an adult myself, I recognize that sometimes we have bad habits and it's hard to shed them. Some of us want to, but it doesn't mean that just because somebody is telling you to do something outside of what you see them doing, it doesn't, I mean, I guess by definition, it does make them a hypocrite. But a lot of times it's like, I'm trying to help you so that you don't have to fight this fight that I'm fighting to get rid of this thing that I have or that I've introduced into my life at some point. Sometimes people are trying to let go of that bad habit, and they feel like their duty to humanity is to tell as many people as possible, don't do this thing that you see me doing. Trust me, don't do it. I'm going to truly end with this. Truly, truly. I had and I don't like to describe her in this way, but I think it's important for me to describe her in this way because I don't know, it just speaks to me. She was my classmate, and her night job was stripping. And I remember saying to her, I don't know how the conversation came about, but we started talking about sex, and I told her that I was a virgin. And I remember her not making me feel like how everybody else has made me feel up to that point. She looked at me and she said, Sin, you're not missing out on anything. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. And I promise you, I wish that I would have listened to her. I wish. Oh, do I wish that I had listened to her. But at last, like I said, some of us just have to learn the hard way. And so we respect those who have to learn the hard way. We respect those who choose not to learn the hard way. We respect anything that any individual outside of ourselves choose to do. We respect their decision, we respect their opinions, we respect their thoughts, and we just love. Okay? We just love. Because as a community of believers, we all read the same Bible and we all interpret it in our own way. And we don't know how the Lord is going to reward us, right? We don't know. We have to wait for that. And I think that might be the beauty of it, right? It's like, I put you on this earth to do something, right? I put you on this earth to do something. A lot of times that something doesn't become apparent right away. As far as skills, because all of our purpose is to serve the Lord. That's our purpose. Stop looking for purpose. Stop looking for purpose. Your purpose is to serve the Lord. That's your purpose, to serve the Lord. But a lot of times we don't know how. A lot of times we hear and are bombarded with what the world, or how the world rather, define things. And so we hear this rich person talk about, oh, I knew that I was supposed to be a basketball player. I knew I was supposed to be a fashion designer. That was my purpose. Your purpose is to design clothes? That doesn't sound like a purpose. It sounds like a skill. The Lord gave you a skill, a keen eye to be a clothes designer, and that's a beautiful thing. But your purpose is to serve the Lord. How you serve the Lord is with your talent, with your gift, with your skills. That's different. And that's also not hidden to us. We all know what we're good at, but we're ignoring it. Because I did it. I did it for years. Oh, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Because I'm listening to the world, right? And these people who found their purpose, they talking about, oh, my purpose was to feed the homeless kids, and my purpose was to be, like I said, a fashion designer. Oh, my purpose was to open this business and do and it's like that's not purpose. That's skill. That's talent. But read the Bible, do your own readings. Sorry, I'm all out of framing stuff. Do your own readings, and before you start doing your readings, say a prayer that the Lord would pour into your heart the understanding. Lord, what is it that you want me to understand as I open my Bible today and read your words? Help me to understand it the way you meant for it to be understood, and allow my ego to step to the side. Allow my own understanding to step to the side. Allow whatever wisdom I think I have to step to the side, and allow me to read this book from a place of from a humble heart, and allow me to have a mind of a child, so that I can accept you and accept your words in the way that they're supposed to be accepted, so I can understand it in the way it's supposed to be understood. Don't allow me to put my own perspectives on your words. Do that, and you are never going to go wrong. Do that, and you're going to never go wrong. You see, I go hard. You see what I'm wearing here? Some of y'all know. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, you don't. But you will find out. As long as you say that prayer from a humble place, you will find out. I love you guys. If you didn't watch my last video introducing this podcast, welcome to my neighborhood. Go watch that last video. Thumbs up, leave a comment, and do know that from love is the only way that I will read any comments. Even if it makes me feel a certain way, unless it's blatant, I'm not going to delete anything. I think conversation is important within a community, and the reason we are so quick to be fresh with one another. A lot of people don't understand that word. The reason we are so rude to one another and so just disrespectful is because we never choose to come from a place of humility and just listen and try to understand. And I also know that there's people that make it hard sometimes for someone to be humble. Just don't take it personal, and then mm, cross off everybody because of that one person. Just move on to somebody else. Move on to somebody else, and do your due diligence to try to learn about a community, to try to learn about a people. Just be loving, be joyful, identify your skill, identify your gift, and love each other, smile at each other. If you could give a hug, give a hug. If you can't, give a pound. Just but a smile works. A smile works, and words work so well as well. As we go into 2020, say Happy New Year. Go on the bus and say Happy New Year. Everybody's not going to respond, but that's okay. That's okay. Just say Happy New Year's. Say good morning. Say good afternoon. Say good evening. Say good night. Say have a nice day. Have a wonderful day. Just be kind. Be neighborly. Love y'all, and see you next Saturday.